Today we're going to start Daf Yud Beis. That's 12a on the bottom, the second Mishnah on the page. We thank Hashem that we're able to learn every day. That's the place of our learning. Shav the Beis Hamikdash immediately. Okay, so the Mishnah starts off with Achas Almanas Yisrael, V'Achas Almanas Kayanim, or Kayhin maybe. Kesubos Daf. A widow, it doesn't matter what her background is, whether her background is a Yisrael, or whether her background, meaning her father's house, is Kohanim, she still gets a ksuba of a mana. Question is, which one the Mishnah wants to tell me? Does it want to tell me that if her background is a Yisrael and she's marrying a Kohen, maybe she should get less? Or maybe it's saying that if she's a background as a Kohen, she should get more. And whatever the case is, it's not. But the question is, what's it coming to exclude? Okay. Bezdin shel Kainim hayagoyven lebesula arba me'asuz v'leimicha biyadan chachamim. Good morning. There's a Bezdin of Kayanim. They would collect for a girl that was from a family of Kayanim, then instead of getting 200 for her ksuba, she should get 400 for her ksuba. They felt this is a prestigious lineage. She should get extra. So, and the sages didn't protest on that. That probably means they weren't concerned about that. Maybe that it was an institution. 200, it has to be restricted to that. They didn't say that. They said it could be, if it's going to be more, or if your family wants to do more, then that's what they can. Not only can they give more, but they can demand more. Yeah, possibly even if it wasn't written in the contract, because since this is what this family always charges for their ksuba, so then that's what they can claim. Good morning. Keitana, let's start on a brisa. We're going to see a little bit of a contradiction, then we're going to have to resolve it. But it says, Valmanas kainim ksubasim asayim. Remember the difference that if a girl is married, if she's a virgin, so then the ksuba is 200 coins. If she's a widow, then it's 100 coins. We have a brisa that says that a widow that her background is Kohanim, she comes from a Kohen family, so then her ksuba is 200, even though she's a widow. It's a problem. Our Mishnah says a widow, it doesn't matter what her background is always 100. Ravashi says that there are actually two institutions. Originally, look at what they did. They said that someone that comes from such a prestigious lineage, that her background is a Kohen family, if she's a virgin, her ksuba is not 200, but it's 400. They said, well, what about if she's a widow? They said a widow is 100. Back to the original price, 100 for a widow. Well, given the chazid the mezals lebahu, what happened then is that the widows that started to look cheap, and if there was a widow that was married, that was remarried, so then they would divorce her quickly because it's a cheap ksuba, it's only 100. And relative to the 400 one, that's the other one. Well, what happened was Takina Leimas, and so they decided to double hers, that it's 200. The widow of the Kainim is 200. They shouldn't look like it's such a discount. So given the chazadika parshin minayu, they saw that people weren't marrying the Kohen widows. Why? Because I'm going to pay a price of 200 for a widow. I can get a basula that's a regular Jewish girl for 200 also. But that cost.
But this sounds more like dowry.
Dowry, it's a dowry.
It's dowry.
Yeah. It's the ksuba. It's not what they're paying now. It's what they will pay if there's a divorce. So I could go and marry a basula that's for the same price. So then they put it back to 100. So there were two institutions, and the fact that we have a brisa that says that she gets 200, that's because that was in the middle before they fixed it up, that she should only get 100. Okay, Bezdin shel Kayanim Chulu, the Bezdin of Kayanim would charge the 400 for a basula, for a girl that came from a Kohen family. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Rav Yehuda says in the name of Shmuel, Lei Bezdin shel Kayanim Bilvad Amru Al Afilu Mishpachas Michasas BYisrael, even if it's a family of distinguished lineage, they could also do this. It doesn't have to be Kohanim. Could be the, I don't know, Rothschild.
Why is it
I'll
called
look that up.
or
Yeah.
because the mother is
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
if the mother is a
Yeah.
Cohen, it doesn't benefit the child. So why would it be more? Doesn't seem like it's an advantage. It's like if their children were going to be Cohen, okay, their children are going to be non-Cohen children.
Right.
I
Right.
don't see what the advantage is of having a Cohen. Family is Cohen. I mean, is there an advantage? Is there something I'm missing? What's the advantage?
It's a good point. They felt that their girls are more special. That's the idea of the lineage. They feel that they're higher quality. So,
Also a person of good name or good reputation.
and that's what they're adding in, that even someone of good name or something like that. So, other people are also allowed to do this, not just if it's strictly on the what's the Kohen DNA. Okay, Meisvei, we have a question. Okay, if someone wants to do the way the Kohanim do, that they charge extra for the ksuba. For example, if it's a Bas Yisrael, a regular girl that's marrying a Kohen, or the daughter of a Kohen that's marrying a regular Yisrael, they're allowed to do that. Now the Gemara says like this. One second. You only gave me two options here. There's either a Kohen from this side or a Kohen from that side. They're allowed to charge that extra price. But Bas Yisrael, a Kohen, a Bas Kohen, Yisrael, who de ketzad kahuna, of a Bas Yisrael, Yisraelite. But if they're both Israelites, then it looks like they're not allowed to raise that price. And Shmuel said that they are. The Gemara says, "Laimi bayikamer." No, you didn't read it right. You have to look at it like this: Laimi bay Bas Yisrael, Yisrael, delay matziyam leilui kamalin lach. Not only a Bas Yisrael, a regular Jewish girl that's marrying a regular Jewish man, is allowed to do this, even though he can't claim that I'm raising your status and therefore I should pay you. I should pay you less. He can't claim that. But even if it's the opposite, even if he's the Kohen and she's the Israelite, where he should be able to say that, look at what I'm doing by this marriage, your status is going up. So I should be able to pay you less. Nevertheless, if her family wants to demand this, so she can demand 400, even though her status is going up by this marriage, not down. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
From I guess a family of father or something.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense. Okay. What we're about to start here is a several Mishnayos that
One other question before.
Yeah.
Well, then there's degrees. It's like the daughter of a Rebbe, which is the daughter of a
right,
principal. There's so it seems like there could be a range. It's
Right.
not either or.
right, and it would all go into this category. Right. We're going to have several Mishnayos that discuss when there's an argument between the husband and the wife about what took place. She says, I was raped, and he says, no, you weren't. And she says, I was hit by wood, and she says, no, it was from a man. and or what's her status based on if they see that she's pregnant and she was a single girl and she's claiming who it is, and that it was from a man that was a Jewish man, and they're saying no, maybe it was a mamzer, and then what's going to be the status of the child, and what's her status for a Kohen, and all of that. So that starts right here. It really has to do with nemanas, belief. Like, who do we give the belief to, and what's the claim, and is there a migu? Familiar with the term migu? Migu is if she could have said a better claim, or if he could have said a better. So then we believe them based on, well, if they were lying, they would have said it even stronger. So it must be that they're not, that what they're saying is the actual story. At least that's one way of looking at the migu. Okay, so it starts like this. It says Hanaysias Isha. We're going to have several mishnayos, so it's going to go. It's all connected. Hanaysias Isha v'lei matzala b'sulam. A man marries a woman. He finds that she's not a virgin. So here is what's going on over here. It's supposed to be a virgin. That's what I understood before the marriage. So here, maris misher stani nasti nechtach v'sadeu. So she claims, we had this case before. She claims that after the betrothal, I was raped. And before the marriage, but after the betrothal. So what she's saying is that it's your bad luck. After you already bought me, after I already became yours, you lost out. It's like your field got flooded. It's your bad luck. And he claims, no, this all happened before the betrothal, and what happened at the betrothal was all a lie to me. It was you didn't give me it wasn't full disclosure, and it's a mekachtos. I didn't know what I was. The whole sale is off. The marriage is off. And what does mekachtos mean? We have to see on the next page. Mekachtos means that he only wants to pay 100, or he wants to pay nothing. It sounds like he wants to pay nothing. That's what we had before. Mekachtos means you don't deserve anything. At least that's the way it was put in the Gemara before, that the word mekachtos means nothing. That's what Rava wanted to say based on Rab Nachman. Okay. Rabbi Gamliel v'Rabbi Eliezer Eimer Menes. Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Eliezer, two sages, should be in the generation of the students of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. They say, we don't have Rabbi Gamliel specifically as a student of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, but Rabbi Eliezer is, and Rabbi Yeshua that's coming up is.
If he's not paying anything, does that mean that the betrothal is cut off? There's no marriage? Is that usually what it's insinuating? Or does that mean that they get married, but he doesn't pay anything?
That's a good question. I have to look into that.
Oh.
Definitely that he wants to say that there's no money here, but I assume she needs a get. I don't think he can really say that the whole assumption was wrong and it's buttle. I'm not sure. Naftali, did we have anything that spoke about that?
Well, the issue in these cases is she going to get 200, 100, or 0?
Right.
This is all Dine Mamanos here. I think later on we come to the spiritual issue about, but there's no question that she's now also to him because he's claiming she's also to him.
Right.
I think so. They have to get divorced.
But
I think
she is actually saying that she was raped.
right.
So unless he's a Kohen, she would still be permitted to. And he's saying that it was all before the marriage. So she's also saying that she's permitted.
Isn't there a sort of a Fliege Deborah here where, there are different purposes?
Oh, we believe half of the statement.
I thought, maybe not.
I'm not sure. There was something like that in the case similar to this.
Yeah.
When he says that he did something wrong, that's when he says he does something wrong. We don't trust him in fully.
Yeah, but these Mishnahs, I think, are just about money. The ones we're talking about.
That's what it sounds like. Okay, so Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Eliezer say that she is believed, which means that she still gets a ksuba. How much is the ksuba? that depends on, we'll see in the Gemara. And Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Yeshua says that we don't live by her mouth. And it's by what's she saying? She's saying that this happened after the betrothal. He says, we're going to assume that she was already not a basula, not a virgin from beforehand. And she fooled him until she brings a proof. The onus is on her. Now, the simple understanding of this disagreement between Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Lezer versus Rabbi Yeshua is that Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Lezer give the strength to her because she's what's called a bari. Bari means she's absolute about her claim. And his claim is Shema. Maybe it was before. He cannot say 100% when this story happened to her. So she's absolute, and he is in a doubt. And the rule is Bari V'Shema, Bari Adif. That the one that's absolute. I know, you're just thinking, but I know for sure. So he is believed. So I'm sorry. So she is believed because she's the Bari. Rabbi Yeshua, on the other hand, says there's money here. Who is in possession of the money? The husband, Rabbi Yeshua. He says that the money right now is in the possession of the husband. She's trying to extract the money. She can't extract the money unless she's got to be more convincing than just it's her word. So he's saying we don't just someone runs over to someone and says you owe me money, then okay, because you're for sure you take it. No, there's got to be some proof, and she can't prove it. So that's why we believe him, and he doesn't have to pay the amount that she's demanding. Okay, Itmar, we have another statement. We're going to compare it to something else. We'll see. The statement goes like this: Manali biyadcha. Someone comes over to his friend and says, "You owe me $100. I lent you $100. You owe it to me. Pay me back." The other one says, "Any idea? I can't remember if you lent it to me." He's not saying I can't remember if I paid it back, because that's going to be a little bit worse. He's agreeing that he borrowed it, and he doesn't remember if he paid back. That's problematic. But if he says, the guy's saying, "I lent you money," and he's saying, "I can't remember if you lent me money," so then what's going to be the rule over there? One of them is bari, right? The lender is absolute, I lent you money. Another one is maybe. So Rabbi Yehuda and Rav Huna Amri Chayev. Rabbi Yehuda and Rav Huna say that he's chayev. He's chayev to pay. The person is claiming the money, and he says, "You owe me," and the other guy says, "I don't remember." So he has to pay. Now the truth is, okay, 1 second. Rav Nachman and Rav Yechanan Amri Pater. Rav Nachman and Rav Yechanan say that he doesn't have to pay. Now, a lot of times people would say, "I can't remember," and they really know, and that's just an easy way out, because they say, I can't remember. It's like this vagueness. So it turns out that there's actually a shvua that he has to make that he really doesn't remember, but an oath that he has to make that he really doesn't remember, and then he would be exempt according to these two. So there's 2 against 2 here. Rav Yehuda and Rav Huna, 2 H's. Rav Yehuda and Rav Huna, they both say chayev, to make it we can remember chayev. And Rav Nachman and Rav Yechanan is 2 cheses. Yeah, this is confusing. Rav Nachman and Rav Yechanan, they say pater. There's a little bit of a problem here with Rav Yechanan coming after Rav Nachman. Rav Yechanan is older than Rav Nachman, more significant, at least in authority. He's the head of the yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael. And Rav Nachman was a dayan in Nardai, student of Rav and Shmuel, but Rav Yechanan should really come first. It's a problematic the way it's put here. The commentaries say that Rav Nachman was the original statement. And then when they heard in Bavel that Rav Yechanan said the same thing, so they added Rav Yechanan in. But that's the way it would make sense, because
the life situation is very similar to that. I have a boarding house. People, sometimes they pay cash, sometimes they pay cash out. And many times they say, "I paid you already," and they're sure about it, and I'm not sure
right.
whether they paid or not. But if they don't have a receipt. or a
Right.
text or
There's another Gemara somewhere about Chen v'nei al pinkasei. If there's a certain way that the storekeeper does business, and he has a ledger, and if it's not in that ledger, then it's problematic because that's the way it's done. It's
Right.
normally recorded in that.
Right, there's some sort of documentation to prove that they paid.
Yeah,
You
that would
know,
be a
I'm
little
not sure.
different because there's a business that's associated with it. There's a record of how it works. Here it's just random. It's coming over. So we have two opinions here. Well, Rav Huna of Rav Yehuda Amri Chayev. Why do they say that he has to pay? Well, that's like we said, Bari v'Shema Bari Yadav. Ruvain tells Shimon that you owe me money, and Shimon can't remember, so he has to pay. Rav Nachman, Rav Yechon Amri Pater. Rav Nachman, Rav Yechon say Pater. Why? He says Uki Memayna b'Cheskas Mari. Where is the money right now? It's in Shimon's hand. Ruvain is trying to extract it from Shimon, not you, the random
No,
name.
that makes sense to
So-
me. It's a lesson that you should put things in writing,
Right,
otherwise you'll lose it, even though it's
Right.
owed to you.
right. So Ukimanu b'Cheskas Mari, there is an assumed position of this money, of where it is, and it's in the hands of Shimon. We can't extract it unless we have a stronger proof than that. Okay. Now, Amalei Abaya Rabbi Yosef. Abaya says to his teacher, Rabbi Yosef, Hod Rav Yehuda Rav Huna of Rav Yehuda the Shmoli. This statement that we have of Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda that say Bari v'Shema Bari Yadav, that we trust the person that has an absolute claim. That follows the view of Shmuel. Why? The Tanan, because we have a Mishnah. Now we quote the Mishnah that's right next to this on the next page, but it's the same topic and it's the same people arguing. It goes like this. Haisamu Beres, if we see that there's a single girl that's pregnant, and we ask her, what's the nature of this fetus, right? Like, who's this from? So she says, Mish Pliny V'Kayinu. Oh, it's a very important individual. He's a Kohen. What she really means is that, don't worry, it's not a mamzer, it doesn't mean that he's a Kohen, literally a Kohen. It means that he's a kosher child, and I'm permitted still to marry a Kohen, and the child is fine.
How can she marry a Kohen with this? Like, is it just like a regular, like she's not single? I don't
She's
know.
single,
She is.
but what would forbid her to marrying a Kohen is if she had relations with someone that would have been forbidden to her, like a mamzer or a
I get
nasin or a
confused between
non-Jew.
Kohen Gadol and a Kohen.
Yeah, the Kohen Gadol has to marry a virgin, but this is just so she's claiming that all's in order. Everything's in order here. And so Rabbi Gamliel for Rabbi Eliezer, no one else has any claim against her, right? It's just her against the state, right? It's so Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Eliezer say that we trust her. She's the one that knows, right? Bari v'Shema Bari Yadav. V'amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel Halacha K'Rabbi Gamliel. And we have a statement from Shmuel, told over to us by Rav Yehuda, his student, that the rule is like Rabbi Gamliel, and which means we trust her. V'amalei Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda Rav Yehuda. There's a bunch of names that seem to be the same. Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda says to Rav Yehuda, who is a student of Shmuel that said this over, says Shinana. Shinana means sharp one. Usually that was said by Shmuel himself. Here it's said by Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda. It's not Shmuel. He says, sharp one. Now, there is another translation of Shinana, which means buck teeth. Shinana means teeth. They called him buck teeth because he had buck teeth. So this is his nickname. So Amritlan Mishmei Deshmuel Halacha Kram Gamliel Af B'Rishaina. You told us not only is the halacha like Shmuel, I'm sorry, that you told us in the name of Shmuel that not only is the halacha like Rabbi Gamliel by Ru'um Midaberes, when we're talking about the nature of the child, of the fetus, who was the father, but also in the case of the ksuba, in the first case, which is when she's claiming a ksuba, and he's saying yes, but you're not a virgin, and he has money, and she's trying to extract the money. And nevertheless, we say that her claim is believed. Mayaf B'Rishaina. What does it mean, even in the first case? Well, even though, see, we have two sets of logic here. We're going to put them on a scale. One set of logic is Bari Veshema Bari Yadav. Her claim is definite, is absolute. His claim is, well, maybe the story was different, so we're going to trust her. That's on one hand. On the other hand, we have, he's holding on to the money. You're trying to extract money from her. To extract money, you need a strong claim. So until you have real proof, you can't get it. You can't get anything.
But I understand she's pregnant, so there's no even question whether she's a virgin or not.
Yeah, so that's what we're having. We have two cases here, and we said the halacha is like Rabban Gamliel in the second one. And we said not only in the second one, but even in the first one. And what do you mean by even in the first one? Well, because over there we have an opposing logic of that there's money involved, and the husband's holding on to that money. So just because you would believe her who the father is, where there's no money involved, that doesn't mean that you would believe her when there is money involved to extract money from the husband. But nevertheless, we do believe her, even when there's money involved. So we're saying that this Bari V'Shem Bari Yadif is even stronger than Uki Memayna B'Cheskas Mari, where that you leave the money in its established place. So what's going to come out now?
I would leave her less because a woman has a certain love and attachment to her child, so she would want to protect him and not let people know that he's from a forbidden relationship or something.
Right.
That would be the nature of a mother. Is to act in the interest of a child, so I would
Right.
necessarily believe her.
Right. If you on the next page, we're going to discuss why we believe her. That there's a little bit more reason. It has to do with the majority of people, and we're throwing in some other factors there. But right now, where we're holding is that we have two discussions here going on. We have a discussion about what happened to this woman. Why is she not a virgin? Is it because she was raped after the betrothal, or she was raped before the betrothal? And that's a monetary issue. And then we have also another case where there's someone is telling his friend that he owes him money, and which is a direct monetary issue, but the other fellow doesn't remember. Okay, so Lema Rav Yehuda v'Rav Huna Damri Karab Gamliel v'Rav Nachman Rav Yechon Damri Karab Yeshua. What comes out is that we actually have we can match up these opinions in just like two columns. Rav Gamliel was the source. Rav Gamliel and Rabbi Lezer, they're the source of Bari V'Shema Bari Yadav. She has a claim. She has a claim and she's definite about it. And she's absolute. So we trust her. So too, when the lender has a claim against the borrower, you owe me money. That's the same opinion. So which means that Rav Yehuda and Rav Huna are just following Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Lezer's view. On the other hand, we have Rabbi Yeshua that says that the money is put in the position of its assumed status before until you have a real proof that it doesn't belong there. So we trust him in the case of the argument between him and her. And then we have Rav Nachman and Rabbi Yochanan that say when the lender is claiming from the other person, but he doesn't have a proof, it's just a claim that you owe me money. He's claiming from his friend. The other person says, I'm not sure, I don't remember. So in that case, we say, well, until you have a proof, you have to leave the money where it is. You can't extract the money. So that would be that Rav Nachman and Rabbi Yochanan are following Rabbi Yeshua. It's lined up perfectly. Now, usually when we say this is sort of problematic because why didn't Rav Nachman and Rabbi Yochanan say that they're paskening like Rabbi Yeshua? Why are they creating this on their own, that as if there's this new thing? They should have said that I go like Rabbi Yeshua, which was an argument earlier, and they should just say who they're following. You don't have to recreate it and then as if this never existed before. So Amalach Rav Nachman, in order to resolve that issue, Rav Nachman's going to say, you can't limit me to Rabbi Gamliel. You can't limit me to Rabbi Yeshua. I could actually follow Rabbi Gamliel as well, because in Rabbi Gamliel's case, it was slightly different than the case where I'm talking about. So I'm not really limited to Rabbi Yeshua. Amalach Rav Nachman would respond. By the way, this sort of helps with what we said before, that how did Rabbi Yochanan come second to Rav Nachman? And now the Gemara is only using Rav Nachman. Yeah, maybe because the basis of the sugya was Rav Nachman, and then they just added in Rabbi Yochanan afterwards. So Amalach Rav Nachman would respond, "No, Damri afilu Rabbi Gamliel." I could even go like Rabbi Gamliel that says that the woman is believed, that we follow the absolute claim. Ad kan like Rabbi Gamliel hasamel de kamigu. The woman is believed, not just because of Bari Veshema Bari Yada, not just because she has an absolute claim and the other person doesn't have an absolute claim, but the woman also has amigu. If she was a liar, she would have said that she was hit by a piece of wood. The fact that she's saying that, and by the way, hit by a piece of wood, according to Rabbi Meir, still gets 200. She could have gotten 200. Now she's saying that she was raped. She's a ba'ula, so she's only going to get 100. She was a liar. She could have had a much better claim. The fact that she didn't say that means that she's saying the story. She's saying the truth. If that's the case, so it's more than just a bari v'shema. It's a bari v'shema together with the migu. Aval hacha my migu eka. But over here, in the case where he's claiming that from Shimon, that Shimon owes him money. What claim could he have better? He can't claim anything better. That's the claim that, my migu ika. Yeah. What could he say more than that? He says you owe me money. He doesn't have a different claim. So therefore, that claim isn't strong enough. It's just an absolute claim, but there's no migu attached to it. So therefore, the money stays in its position, like Rav Nachman say, and you can't extract the money from the borrower if he's a borrower.
What about the case where she's claiming the child is legit? Is that more like the
Over
money,
there, yeah,
or
very
is it
good.
more like the money,
Very
or
good. Very good. The Gemara is going to get into that. She has a claim. What's her claim over there? Over there, she doesn't really have a migu, anything more than I mean,
Right, so
we'll
it's
see.
saying-
We'll see.
it's saying you owe
We'll
me
see. The
money,
Gemara is going to get
$100.
into that. Yeah, that's a good point.
What if that person who knows what legal means? So I'm a real liar. And I'm not gonna make the extreme claim because they won't believe me. I'll make the middle claim and they'll think it's illegal.
Yeah.
But she's really a liar.
It's a real con man.
Yeah.
Thinks that it's con.
Super
Yeah.
confident, right?
I don't know the answer. It's asking why does anyone have a migu? Because maybe the reason why they're saying the lesser claim is because they want the migu. Yeah.
Maybe the same as like getting hit by wood or.
Well, migu is I could have said a better claim.
Oh, okay.
Now,
So-
what would that better claim have been? Yes, getting hit by wood is a better claim than saying I was raped. So,
She could have said I was buying a horse, and if that would, no one could have argued it.
Right.
So she's not gonna say, well, I'll say a lesser claim so they'll believe with me. She could have just argued that's straight out. No reason to overthink it.
yeah, the migu, the migu can't have a disadvantage. It has to be an equal or a better claim.
In all these cases, is the husband coming to court and saying, I want to get divorced, and this is what the ksuba should be?
Yeah.
Or he just saying, I want to stay married, I want to just adjust the ksuba?
So it depends what he's claiming. In this case, it could be that he wants to stay married because he's saying that he's not claiming that she had an affair. He's claiming that she was raped, which would still allow, and he's actually claiming that it was before the marriage to make her even more permissible.
So,
Yeah.
so I just want to adjust.
Yeah, they're leaving that.
I want to edit my ksuba.
Yeah.
That's all you really want.
Something like that.
It's not interested in
Right.
getting divorced per se. I mean, all these cases we've been discussing.
Right.
Weeks of the next morning, you realize that she wasn't a virgin.
So in those cases, we actually want them to get divorced
we do.
because we think that it's in between the betrothal and the.
No, but he's making a claim and saying not just I got damaged good, but she wasn't being honest,
Right.
and therefore I want to get divorced, and I don't want to pay the full price.
That could be. Inami, another difference that we could say here, how Rav Nachman could really follow Rabbi Gamliel, even though he's paskening that we're believing the lender, which in this case would be the one that has the money, the husband, but he can still follow Rabbi Gamliel. Inami adkan like Rabbi Gamliel Hasam. Why does Rabbi Gamliel say over there that we believe her? Eladamrin rukma chazaka. What was her status? Her status, since she was born, was that she was a virgin. When would you like to change her status? Well, we know that she's not a virgin now, but let's keep her on her assumed status until the latest point in time, which is after the betrothal. Until we know differently, we put her on her status, which was the assumed status that she was a virgin. Aval hacha, but over here, when the person is claiming money, my chazaka is lahai. What chazaka does he have? Is he claiming together with his claim that the money that you have in the bank is really mine? There's no status of there's no way of saying that the person owes money. See, her claim is a stronger claim. Besides that, it's absolute, but it's also has a chazaka that's attached to it. Okay. It also makes sense that we say that Rav Nachman could actually follow Rabbi Gamliel in the other case. In other words, we have two cases here. We have a case of a dispute between a husband and wife regarding the ksuba, and we have another dispute about a borrower and a lender. So Rav Nachman in the borrower and the lender ruled like the borrower. He doesn't have to pay. What does he hold in the dispute between the husband and wife? So we want to say that he would actually follow the wife's claim, which is the opposite over here, which means that the husband, which is the position of the borrower, has to pay the money. So we want to say that. Why? Because otherwise we're going to be left with a contradiction in law. Because the Kaimalan Hilchas Rav Nachman Medini, because we have one rule that says that we paskin like Rav Nachman. But we also have another rule that we paskin like Rav Gamliel. We have a statement from Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel. So it must be the way we resolve this is that Rav Nachman could really follow be agreeing with Rabbi Gamliel. Shema Mina, that would make sense to us because then we don't have a contradiction in the laws. Okay, next Mishnah, very similar. She claims I was hit by a piece of wood. And he claims that wasn't wood, that was a man. So Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Lezer say once again, we believe her. She's the one that knows. Bari v'shema. Now this is a very interesting case because she may be.
Why would he even like? You could have a question, but he can't say for certain it wasn't.
Right. Basically, what he's saying is, I don't believe you. That's what he's saying. It's not that he really knows. He's saying, I don't believe you. However, Rabbi Shua says we don't just trust her. It's just because it's her word. What is that? And then all of a sudden she's going to have this ksuba. It doesn't work like that. We'll assume that she was a drusasish, that she lived with a man, and until she brings a proof. Now again, we'll have the question of when did she live with the man? We're not going to say that it was after the betrothal and that it's his loss. Because we're not making up over here that she was raped after the betrothal. We're not going to make that up.
So I think to say or to assume that she lived with another man. I mean, she comes from a family. They usually live in their father's house until they get married. And for something just generalized, well, you live with a man. It's like the whole community knows these people.
The problem is though that she's not a virgin. So something happened there. So you're right. If there was no backing to it, but there is some sort of backing, like someone has got to explain this. So
like her explanation would be more
could be,
tenable.
could be. But when you're trying to get money,
Other people would know about it.
I understand. But when you're trying to extract money from someone on just an explanation that's more that's not enough to take $10,000 from the husband, whatever the ksuba is worth. I don't know.
If there's a chazaka that Jewish girls are basula until marriage, then Rabbi Yehoshua seems to be going against that in all these cases.
Yeah. So
He's-
Reuven's claiming that, saying we should really assume that since no one knows about it, that that she's really clean. That's the okay. The Gemara says Tanasayo b'mai. What are the claims of it? They tell the person, what is your claim? Tell me exactly what you're asking. What is your So she's claiming something, he's claiming something. What exactly? Tell me exactly what they're discussing. Rabbi Yechon Amar b'Masayim Umana. She's claiming, I want a ksuba of 200. Why? Because I was hit by a piece of wood. I get 200. Now that was a machlekes. That's not so clear. It's a machlekes from Meir and the Chachamim. But she's giving it's all this Mishnah, let's say, is following Reb Meir. It says that a mukas eitz hit by a piece of wood gets 200. She's still considered a virgin, even though in the physiology she's not. And he's claiming, no, it's a mana. It's only 100. Why is it 100? Because he's saying that she was a beula. She lived with someone. So it's only a question of 200 or 100. 100 difference. Rabbi Lezer Rabbi Lazar, it's Rabbi Lazar over here. This is Rabbi Yechon and Rabbi Lazar. Two sages in Eretz Yisrael are discussing what our Mishnah means. Rabbi Yechonon says it's 200 and 100. Her claim is 200. His claim is 100. And Rabbi Lazar says her claim is 100. She agrees, that a mukas eitz is only 100. That's the view of the sages. And what's his claim then? He has to be saying less. He can't agree with that, right? He's saying nothing. Rabbi Yechonon Amar Masayim Umana. Why does Rabbi Yechonon say that it's 200 and 100? Savalak Reb Meir. He's following Reb Meir's view. Damar bein hikaba Masayim. Reb Meir's view, according to this, is that whether he was aware that she was a mukas eitz or not, it's still 200. That wasn't so clear. We had a machlekes about that before. That if there was full disclosure, then there would have been 200. But let's say there wasn't full disclosure, that was a discussion. But Rabbi Yechonon must be following the view of Reb Meir, that even without full disclosure, it's still 200. And that's what she's claiming. But Rabbi Lazar is saying that she's only claiming 100. Savalak Rabbanan. She's following the Rabbanan. Damar bein hikaba mana. That says that she only gets 100 even without full disclosure. Or not even. It doesn't that there's no difference. If there's full disclosure or not, it's always 100. Bishleim Rabbi Lazar like Rabbi Yechonon. I can understand why Rabbi Lazar doesn't say like Rabbi Yechonon, the Kamukila Rabbanan. He doesn't want to follow an individual's opinion here when we have the view of the sages. Rabbi Meir is the individual. He says that a mukas eitz, a woman that was hit by a piece of wood and now she's not a virgin, Rabbi Meir says that she gets 200, but the sages say she gets 100. So Rabbi Lazar follows the sages. That's the majority view. That would make sense why he's not learning like Rabbi Yechonon. Rabbi Yechonon, my time Rabbi Lazar, but why does Rabbi Yechonon push the Mishnah to be translated according to Rabbi Meir? Hold the Mishnah, Rabbi Meir. Yeah, that's interesting. But the sages said not like that. This would come out to be a machlekes v'achakach stam. I don't know. Which the halacha would be not like the machlekes would be like the stam. Well, anyway, we don't have proof for which way, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, but why is Rabbi Yechonon doing this to push the Mishnah into the view of Rabbi Meir when he can follow the Rabbanan? So he holds kasavar kansa b'cheskas psul of nimtzas pula yesh l'ksuba mana, because Rabbi Yechonon's view is that if he marries her thinking that she's a basula, and it turns out that she's really a beula, she gets 100. Okay, if that's the case, as we had a discussion about this, does she get nothing? Maybe she gets nothing.
So he just adjusts the amount.
Yeah, but what's
He-
going to
he
happen
crosses
now?
out 200 and writes in one, right?
Yeah. So now, if you would follow the Rabbanan, Hacha huka amar mana, v'hika amar mana. He's claiming that she lived with someone. How much is that now? 100. That's her ksuba. She's claiming that she was hit by a piece of wood. How much is that? Well, if it's 200, fine. But if it's 100, then what are they arguing about? Now, this happens sometimes. They go to court arguing, and it comes out that they weren't really arguing. They're agreeing to the same amount of money. They just wanted to argue. But it can't be that they're each making the same claim. So what would be the difference? So it has to be that the Mishnah is following Reb Meir, where that says that a Mukas gets 200 because he's claiming that she gets 100. So they can't be saying the same thing. According to Rebbe Lazar, we understand why we have two Mishnayos that basically just told us the same thing. Mishnah A was she was raped after the betrothal, and it's his loss. He says, no, it was before the betrothal. Mishnah B is she was hit by a piece of wood. And he says, no, you were raped or whatever it is. But she's not a virgin because of a man was with her. Two Mishnah is basically the same thing. It's his claim versus her claim versus his claim. Why do we need to have this to elaborate on every case? We can have a precedent, and that will be what the rule will be. We don't need to allow to itemize each possible claim. So the Gemara says, according to Rebbe Lazar, we understand why there's two different cases because the second case, according to Rebbe Lazar, is Rebbe Lazar's view is that she gets her claim is that she deserves 100. This is Rebbe Lazar's view. Her claim is that she deserves 100. But according to Rami Bar Chama, yesterday we learned, if he did not know that she was a mukaseitz, and now after the marriage there wasn't full disclosure, according to Rami Bar Chama, she gets nothing. So our Mishnah is telling me that we don't follow Rami Bar Chama, that she actually has a claim of 100, even though there wasn't full disclosure. B'chada, what about the other case? The first Mishnah. Lafuki mider Rabchia bar Rav amar Rav Sheshes.
Well, we learned that we don't need full disclosure from a Mukas. Didn't we learn this?
Yeah, that was not Rami Bar Chama's view. Rami Bar Chama held that you did need full disclosure even for a mukaseitz. So what is the second Mishnah telling me? Not like Rami Bar Chama. What do I need the first Mishnah for? To tell me not like Rav Sheshes. Because Rav Chia bar Rav amar Rav Sheshes, because Rav Chia bar Rav amar Rav Sheshes said that if she turns out that she was a ba'ula, that she actually according to Rav Sheshes, even if she turns out to be a ba'ula, she's still going to get 100. And according to Rebbe Lazar, she's claiming 100, and she's getting 100. And he's claiming that she gets 100. It wouldn't make sense. So obviously, we're saying that if she turns out to be a ba'ula, she should really get nothing. So his claim is you deserve nothing, and her claim is that I deserve 100. So the two Mishnayos, one is telling me that that the mukas eitz without full disclosure still gets something, still gets a mana. And the other Mishnah is telling me that a ba'ula without full disclosure gets nothing. Not that she still gets 100. Elul Rabbi Yochanan Tarti Lamali, but according to Rabbi Yochanan, the cases are the same. She's claiming 200, and he's claiming that it's 100. But exactly the same story. Full disclosure doesn't matter here, according to Rabbi Yochanan. In both cases, it's equal. The Gemara explains, it's actually telling me the two sides of the argument, which one is stronger. The first case is telling me the strength of Rabbi Yeshua that says that he is believed. It's not really he is believed, that we don't believe her. Even though she could have said a better claim, she could have said that she was hit by a piece of wood. Instead, she said she was raped after the betrothal. So, but we still don't believe her, even though she had a better claim. We could maybe should believe her, but nevertheless, no. Basraisa, the second case, it's coming to tell me the strength of Rama Gamliel that we do believe her. Even though there isn't a migu. She says she's a mukas eitz. What better claim is that? She was hit by a piece of wood. She doesn't have a migu, but nevertheless, Rama Gamliel says we believe her because she is absolute claim. Mehemna, we believe her. Okay, let's leave it over here. Okay, have a good day.